Welcome to CATtheMinion YouTube channel. My name is Teresa, but you can call me Cat. This is going to be one of my Cat's Hit the Deck reviews. So today I'm reviewing the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck. And I still have part of the cover from the box. It's ripped on the edges because I've had it taped to my wall. Look at that, it's so pretty. So this is kind of how it would look if you got it. And you take the paper off. So pretty. And then this is the box. So this is Harper Elixir Press. This is by Kim Krans. And there is a little magnet hinge down here. You can hear it kind of sucking into the magnet. So it says, "May you always be on the inner quest." And then it has a guidebook, which has kind of an interesting texture. It's like a laminated, but it's paperback with some kind of laminated finish. Animal Spirit Guidebook. So this is, what is it, like 200 something pages? 207 pages. So it has a little story at the beginning. It has a description about how to use the cards, nature, and so on. And then it's broken down into 4 sections. So there's a bunch of earth animals. There's a bunch of water animals, water elementals I like to call them. Bunch of fire elementals and a bunch of air elementals. Apologize for the fireworks noises. I have no control over that. And then there's another, a 5th spiritual element, which is additional animals, some of which are not real, like a phoenix or a unicorn, that are relating to each of the chakras. So there should be 7 of those. So how many cards are there total in here? I haven't really paid attention. Does it say? Maybe it doesn't say. I don't think it says how many cards are in this deck, and I didn't count them either. Let's see. If it says... Oh, I guess it doesn't say. That's weird. I didn't even count the deck. Let me just see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, okay. I guess it's built a little bit like a tarot deck. So if we assume there's 14 animals in each suit plus the additional 7, that would give a total. 14 times 4. Should be 56. Would make it a 63 card deck. So possibly 63 cards if I counted them right. Okay. So then under the book, or behind the book, or with the book, there is a smaller box. I don't know if there was a frame in here or not, because if there was, I would have pulled it out. So there might have been a frame in there holding that. I don't remember. It matches the cover. It's all shiny and pretty. And then this, actually, does this have texture? It does not. It just matches the back of the box. But it's got a little bit of the card texture on it. 2 feet, 4 feet, scales are high. May our minds stay open and our wings span wide. That's what that says on the lid. Oh, shiny. And then the cards are sort of plain. They have the same texture. It's silver on white. Look at the texture in there. There we go. It has the same texture as the tarot deck, which is black with white writing. The matching tarot deck. Okay, so I'm going to start in the same... I'm going to flip through them in the same order as they come in the book. And I'm probably going to move the camera for this. So we'll do the earth animals first. Let me move the camera. Camera. Okay. Let's just starting with the bear. Brr. Okay. So, the way that I use these cards, I think that's pretty well focused. I hold it up. They're sort of roughly regular tarot sized because they're taller and skinnier. So we have an Earth Elemental. And I get information from these cards by the colors. So it's like chartreuse here with a little bit of orange, possibly heart center. And sometimes I'll count the letters and it'll give me a number. So I see bear 4, maybe 4 of pentacles because it's the Earth element. Maybe not. Maybe it's the Emperor. Who knows? Maybe I want to relate it to the bear in Lenormand, which is usually thought of as a mama bear. But either way, in general, the bear is like what a bear would do. It would come out of hibernation. So that might be the message that's coming through. Or any other message that's bear related that you could think of. I should point out that I love this deck and sometimes I find it hard to read. So Earthworm, so we have this looping situation going on here. Again, I could count the letters and see what I get here. 9. So it might be Hermit energy, but we don't know. It depends on what the rest of the reading is doing. Earthworm is like, it's a little bit shyness, like, oh, maybe I'm out of my depth here. But everybody's got to start somewhere, right? Earthworm energy here, according to the book, is like a noob. Like N-O-O-B. A newbie. Just starting out. So we have mouse with these sort of chakra colored stars here. Mouse is into the details. It's also it also can get into like anxiety and micromanaging. Mouse, 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 hunka munka. And we have the rabbit. There's a whole story at the beginning of the book before even getting into the stuff about how the rabbit's afraid the eagle's always going to eat him, and then the eagle's like, hey, that's a good idea. The rabbit's like, shit. So, bunny rabbit, anxiety. We can see some chakra energy here, maybe. Also, any other rabbit-related inclinations. Pulling a rabbit out of a hat, that kind of thing. Alice in Wonderland. We have a raccoon. I believe this has to do with creativity. Really noticing the double letters here. The number 7. Raccoon could very well be into like wearing a mask. But also in the book it says it's like artistic creativity. You know, it's like, all right, it's like, in some way it's like, are you creating like your own propaganda, and is it like stifling you or pushing you forward? Those kinds of things. And then any other raccoon related stuff, you know, about, you know, could be like trash panda, roly-poly, like snacks, washing your food before you eat it, that kind of thing. I had a stuffed raccoon when I was little. Its name was Mama Raccoon. I should also point out that I had a stuffed rabbit when I was little, and I called it Angela after Judith Light's character on Who's the Boss, because I like that show. See the fox? So for this, in this deck, in the book, for the fox, it says the fox is relationship oriented, and it mentioned monogamy and stuff like that. But a lot of the time you'll get that sly fox kind of energy, and people might not always think the fox is up to good, but if you see videos of people who are like rescuing a fox, or they've got one as a pet if they're in a place where they can, or, you know, they've got one that's rehabilitated but it can't quite be released to the wild entirely, and they're like dogs but they're really hyper. They're just real lovey-dovey. So that's the kind of information that's coming in, at least according to the book, with that fox. The relationships, monogamy, and stuff like that. Or any other fox-related ideas. You know, it could be an Arctic fox, it could be a red fox, it could be a gray fox, or it could even be like a black fox. If you've ever seen one of those, they're really stunning. So any kind of fox related things. So we have the snake. This is supposed to be about like unlocking your potential and hitting that universal timing. And we see here there's a flower of life grid going on here. So there's taps into that universal pattern, and then we have this Ouroboros situation going on here, and then any other things related to snake. This looks kind of 3D the way that I'm holding it in the... Looks like it's popped up off the card the way that I've got it in the camera there. That's kind of cool. And the snake skin is kind of like the pattern on the back of the card here. You know. But also like shedding your skin and stuff like that. And then number 5. So any other snake related things? Again, I apologize for the background fireworks. I have no control over that right now. So we have Buffalo, Tatanka. So the way that this is described in the book, it's sort of like being grounded but also connected to the higher realms. So we see this lightning coming down. In that way, it kind of reminds me of the Hierophant card, because I take the Hierophant to be like the Empress and the High Priestess, or the Emperor and the Magician, which would be mastery of the spiritual world and mastery of the material world, which is, funnily enough, is Taurus. So we do have this buffalo here. In the mystical shaman oracle, the buffalo is like the universe is like knocking down your door with a message, like reaming you a new butthole kind of stuff. But this card is it's like more still, but there's still this crack of lightning in the background. So take with that what you will. There can be multiple different meanings for buffalo, but here it's in the book, at least for this, it was describing it's sort of like being in the middle world, right? Connected to the sky and the earth. Grounding in spirituality. Okay. So we have the lamb. This card usually throws me for a loop, but in the book it's talking about, it's like a special message, but it's sort of like you have to be willing to hear it, kind of. I always see this pattern here. It reminds me of those little God's eye things we made in elementary school with yarn and popsicle sticks. That's what that looks like to me. So we have the lamb. I just heard tasty. I still don't understand why people put mint jelly on lamb. That doesn't make any sense to me. It tastes way better with curry or barbecue sauce. So we have elk. So this is very much like the King of Pentacles and its energy. It's supposed to be like a masculine, stable, aligned masculine archetype, sort of protective and like encouraging, oriented, familial, that kind of thing. A lot of the time when I see this card, I get crown activation because the horns are right up there and they're like on fire. There's like a portal or an eclipse happening up here, so that usually gives me information as well. All right, and the counterpart to the elk is this deer, which is sort of like a feminine nurturing. The book talks about possibly expectant mother type energy. Very much the Empress energy here, I would say. Or at the very least, Queen of Pentacles. Ooh, that's giving me a little bit of a 3D effect too. Weird, okay. And then we have Wolf. I just heard Wolf of Wall Street in the back of my head. I actually get this card a lot, and a lot of the time he's upside down. The wolf is someone who's like, you know, it's like the leader of the pack, taking care of everybody, you know, interested in sort of goal-oriented to some extent, but the dark side of this wolf is micromanaging and getting mad at people when they don't do it like their exact way. It's like, I don't know if this still happens, but especially, you know, like 30 to 60 years ago. In school, if you didn't do your math problem and get the answer the exact way you were taught how to do it in school, they would mark you down, even if you solved it. Like, even if you did your proof and wrote out the whole proof for how you solved the math problem, they would be like, no, that's wrong because you didn't do it how I did it, right? It's like that Rolling Stones song, like, how, well, he can't be a man because he doesn't smoke the same cigarettes as me. That's the dark side of this wolf. But it's not always in the shadow. So there's that, like, I'll show you how to do it mentality, and then getting butthurt if somebody makes inefficiency that they didn't, like, pre-approve. So it's not quite as, it's like a little bit micromanagey like the mouse, but it's not like nitpicky. It's like, that's not the way we do it around here. It's like, hey, you know, like a little bit like not wanting people to encroach on the authority. So we have spider, and it's sort of very literally about weaving, but it also has to do with somewhat with universal timing. It's like, be more involved in the process and not so stressed out about having to have a certain outcome at a certain point. You know, it's like it's not the outcome that's important, it's the journey, that kind of stuff. It's sort of really simplifying, but there's a lot of, like, intense energy with this card. So we have horse. I like this horse card because the hair looks like wheat. So the general idea is that horse has 4 feet on the ground, very stable. It's sort of like Ace of Pentacles kind of energy. It's very like climbing a mountain, able to overcome difficult tasks and things like that. Mr. Ed. Alright, so I'm going to make another segment, and then I'll flip through the water elementals. Okay, so we're into water elementals. So we have crocodile. I just heard Dundee in the back of my head. So this card, it says it's about, like, going under, right? It's like recharging the battery, right? I'm gonna, like, sink into the swamp and just kind of simmer, but it's not like I'm twiddling my thumbs or like just being angry. It's like I'm storing up power so I can, like, lurch, like like I gotta put some nut on my next move, basically. So the crocodile is a little bit like a battery, but it's like a little more primal than that. Right? It's like it's not even like necessarily biding my time, because that sounds more like going on an attack. It's like I'm building up. I'm just recharging the battery, but it's also this, like, I'm like in a meditative place while I'm doing that, so that I'm, you know, better, faster, smarter, wiser, stronger, and all that. Stingray. So we have this chakra situation going on here. The demon ravioli. So in this, it's like the main idea is growing a spine, but it's like gaining the confidence to do something, more or less. There's more involved, and there's other stuff that can come with a stingray in terms of, like, ideas. Again, like the numbers, the chakras, the stinger itself, the whip-like aspect, the square shape, and all that. So the fishy, this red moon here. Every time I see this, it makes me think of Pisces, but it's only a half. It's like salmon swimming upstream. The fish is like restless, right? Perpetual motion kind of a thing. Gotta simmer down now. You know, can't stop, gotta move. Don't want to think about it too much. fish. Starfish, I mean, essentially every time I see this, like, the big keyword that drops like a sign hanging off a building is shallow. But it's also like image as well, you know. I want to, like, gotta make sure I look good. Don't want to gotta keep up with it, you know. And it's there's also a lot else that I get out of this card besides like the shallow idea. It's, I see the 5 points and I see water. Maybe it's 5 of cups. Maybe I'm seeing the devil energy. It just depends. It's also very geometric, but I mean, in general, the starfish, like, quick running through. I'm like, oh, it's washed up on shore. It's shallow over here. So there's other things that you can get out of that card, but there it is. So octopus, really intelligent, clingy, lacking of boundaries, doesn't want to let go. I don't remember. I feel like there was another octopus card I saw somewhere where it was like you're trying to hold on to too many things at once, and it ended up being very much like the 7 of Cups. Which is interesting because there's 7 letters here, and it's a water elemental. So there's that. And you could also get other stuff with octopus, like the only thing solid about them is the beak. They can squeeze through tiny little things. They can open jars. They can, you know, solve complex problems and things like that. But then also just the basic idea of, like, clinging in multiple directions all at once. So there's that. With a beaver, so just sort of chunking along, piece by piece, doing the work, little by little, bit by bit, accomplishing stuff. But sort of duality, land and water thing going on there. You know, the busy little beaver kind of thing. And then also in the book it's talking about how the beaver likes to provide for others, right? Because they make a little house and all that. So we have oyster. This is like I'm keeping it to myself kind of energy. You know, what's the gem in there? What's the pearl gonna be? And also a little bit of, like, you know, shutting people out possibly. So that's in general what's going on there. We have the turtle. Whenever I see this, because it's orange and it's a turtle, it makes me think of Michelangelo, the Ninja Turtle. Like Cowabunga. The book talks about the turtle storing experiences under its shell and how it can be a good storyteller and all that. So it's just like, it's like they have a lot of life understanding and experience, perhaps. And also, I mean, turtles live to be like 100 and 200 years old if they don't get eaten when they're just little babies. So we have a frog. Look at this rain coming in. So I feel like I've gotten the frog a fair amount of times. It's, you know, the frog's just little. It can be overwhelmed if there's too much put on it. And then the need to recuperate via water element energy, right? I need to soak in a tub. I am dehydrated. Those kinds of things. So the otter. This card is described as playfulness. And you can see that because otters are a little bit nuts, but just, you know, it's kind of like, water to me is like a little bit like the beaver without, like, having to punch a time clock every day. I think they're more closely related to dogs, but maybe I'm wrong. But I always see otter as like water kitty. Like the derpiest, like sliding into box cat you can imagine, but in the water. And then like any other thing you could think of, you know, they sleep hooked up arm in arm so they don't float away from each other. They often float around with the babies on their belly so their little baby fur doesn't get too wet until they start their swimming lessons. They have a special rock that they'll tuck into their armpit, and it's their favorite rock that they use to crack open their shells and all that. So all of those things go with the otter. So we have shark. I mean, the basic idea with this shark is it's like repressed emotional content that's just kind of lurking around, ready to nibble at your ankles. It's like unchecked shadow element, unchecked ego. You know, it's like it's unwise to ignore it, because then it'll become a problem. Swan. I think this is supposed to be like creativity, like unbridled creativity, and just sort of jacked into the universal flow. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on with swans, though. And here there's a mirror. So it's not even really a swan, it's a pair, right? They mate for life and all that. So this card could take on completely different connotations besides just that like intense creativity aspect. So the dolphin. I don't remember what the book says about this card. I kind of, you know, I don't always retain that information, but the dolphin for me, especially with these spirals, these rings behind it, always makes me think of sonar. I mean, dolphins are also playful, but they're intelligent. They can also be really horny and kind of gross about it, just like people. You know, they can swim for long distances. They travel in pods. They're inquisitive. They like to check out humans, sometimes to their detriment. They get caught in propellers or nets or whatever. But dolphin, a lot of colors going in. And then like the big one with the dolphin too is the sonar for me. And then we have whale. Whale, whale, whale. What do we have here? Ooh, that's giving me 3D vibes too through the camera. That's freaking me out. Okay. So the whale, this is usually like deep emotional content, but like the ability to go into it, you know, like I can take a deep breath and dive really deep in there. And then sometimes it gives me like ancestral information coming up, and then depending on if the card comes this way or this way or this way, it tells me what the whale is doing, like which direction it's going in. It's also a baleen whale, so maybe that has something to do with it, right? You have to feed yourself a little bit at a time, because like the increments are so small, but like you can push a lot of emotion out of you at once, like when you spew the water out to keep all the krill in. So there's that. There's some green up here. There's like a violet-y color down here in the folds of the neck ribbing. So in general, a whale brings in this these like emotionally deep context. And there's other stuff that you can get with whales too. Again, like the krill and the baleen and the blowhole and the flippers and the flukes and all that. All right. So I'm gonna skip to another segment, and then I'll get into the fire elementals. All right, so we're into the fire elementals. This card looks like it's not in focus, but it is. It's just covered with ants. So the fire ant is like It's like that panties in a twist kind of energy. Like, what's up your butt? Like, what's eating at you? Like, what are you so annoyed about? That kind of situation. And there's other stuff going on there too, but that's the gist of it. I mean, it's also like a sensitivity, right? It's like, what are you letting get to you? Ants in your pants. So the hyena. This is like a little bit literal too, because you think of laughing hyena, and the hyena is sort of like, it's like the tears of a clown. There's a darkness to the projected lightness, right? Like always joking and laughing, but like how do you really feel about stuff? Like what's being masked. So there is a dark side and a light side to a life of being silly. The scorpion. I think this is about like keeping to yourself, kind of. But I mean, if you think about scorpions, like, what are they doing? You know, if they get angry, they might sting themselves to death. There's other stuff going on. It brings in the whole astrological sign of Scorpio as well. Desert dwelling, scuttling around, that kind of thing. But there is I'm pretty sure there was like a solitary aspect to this. And again, I mean, scorpion can be interpreted to anything, depending on how it is. You could be getting a spiral shape, that kind of thing. So lizard. The way that this lizard is described in the book, it's very much like an empath situation. Just very perceptive and clairvoyant, but can be fatigued by being out in public, essentially. So just very intuitive, but perhaps not always with great shielding. A panther. This is like your environment being viciously rearranged, but it's ultimately for a higher good, but it's a good swift kick in the pants, basically. It's like coyote energy, like a trickster, but like they're not playing around, you know. Like, is no more fun and games here. This is the big time, basically. So tarantula. I believe tarantula, if I remember correctly, has to do with choice. And it's like trying to choose the thing to do that's going to kind of pull you further on your life's path. A lot of decisions. Which one makes you feel warm and fuzzy? That kind of stuff. So we have a camel. This one's fairly straightforward, right? The camel, you think, oh, they carry the water, they live in the desert, right? It's a self-sufficiency. It's an ability to be nurtured in hostile environments and not have it, eat away at you. There's other stuff going on with camel, but that's the gist of it. So we have the gazelle here. I don't get this card very often, but the way that it's described in the book, it's sort of like she's beauty and she's grace. She's Miss United States, but she's sort of always looking out the corner of her eye, checking, like, don't want to sit with your back to the door kind of stuff. Like, just a little bit skittish, but elegant. And the cheetah. So this card is described as the masculine sun force. Just sort of like pushing out energy to those around it. And we see there's a big sun vortex behind here. And then everything else that comes with the cheetah. Fast, unusual in its own genus. Babies are often eaten by lions. Very fast, spotty, that kind of stuff. So the tiger. So this is the feminine moon force in this element. So got the moon right on her head there. Hunts at night. And just all those, I mean, if Kim Krans, the author and artist of this deck, is saying that this is the sun card, then it would be equivalent to any sun card with a masculine energy, right? Or the sun card in the tarot, like it's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. The little naked kid riding on a pony, that kind of stuff. Whereas the moon card would be, with the tiger, would be equivalent to the moon, right? Secret secretions, feminine force, nightmares, and whatever power can be tapped into in the middle of the night. Toiga. So Cobra. This one, I finally remember what this card is. It's like teacher, like someone who's standing by, observing, ready to offer assistance when you're ready to have the instruction. And notice how all these lines kind of, there's like a pyramid rising into the apex, right? Go like learning from the ground up kind of energy, ready to strike when the moment opens up with information. And then you could also get any other snake and cobra information off of this card too. Right? It's hooded, it's, snake charming, the number 5, it's kundalini, all that kind of stuff. You have zebra. So the zebra is about it's like eccentric, right? Stripes in this economy, what are you thinking? And also in the book it mentions sort of like environmental oriented, but it's like somebody who by their very nature of being eccentric just sort of kind of it's like a little snowball that inspires people around them. That's what they said in that card. This on the forehead reminds me of the 3 of Wands in the matching tarot deck, because it had like a little like portal in between 3 sticks. And then you could get any other zebra thing there, stripes, newspapers, and so on. Zebra if you have a different accent. So we have lion. This comes in a little bit more King of Swords energy, even though you'd want it to be King of Wands. I think there's a sun here, sun disk in the background, kind of. Well, it's like angled, but it the way that I'm seeing it through the camera right now, it looks like a sun disk over here, but it's not really. It's like, ooh, look at the lion, isn't he regal? It's like, but does it like, oh yeah, I'm friends with the lion. Everybody's friends with the lion. This is like, he's the tits. And then it's like, they're like, well, what's he like? And they're like, I don't know. It's sort of the deeper nature of the personality is a little bit elusive. And then you can get any other thing you would with the lion, like normally lion, masculine, sun energy. Maybe if it's this way, you'd think cowardly lion. It doesn't, any other lion related things. Pride, trophy hunting, Aslan, Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Lion King, any other stories, fables, or fairy tales featuring lions, that kind of thing. And then for the last fire elemental, we have this elephant. So for this, I saw this thing once where it's like the trunk of the elephant is the spine and the brain stem, and then this up here is the corpus callosum, and the ears come out like the lobes of the brain. And here there's like a little fire in the bottom, and then this third eye up here. I think there's supposed to be something else about the elephant that's completely different than that in the book, but that's usually what I see when I see this card. Any other elephant-related stuff, it can be related to Ganesha, just sort of like wisdom. Oh, I think I just remembered something that it said. It can be something that's either opening your path or obstructing your path. That's what it said. But in the end, it has to do with your sort of gut feeling and opening up your mental area to the fire that's deep inside you, right? It's like connecting your third eye to it's like connecting your brain center to your gut center. Not fully worried about the heart center, right? There's like 3 power packs in your body, and we're looking at the connection between the outermost regions. All right, so we'll get into the air elementals next. So this is Moth, air elemental, and this one is sort of straightforward, especially with the Luna Moth on here, because it's essentially the grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? It's like ooh, shiny, what's over there? That kind of thing. And then there's other stuff that can go with Moth, but that's the gist of it. So then we have Butterfly. And this is actually more straightforward too. It's transformation, right? And in some ways it might end up being painful, and you might need to feel protected. Transformation. So we have Bat. This also brings in, I mean, there's the moon right there. It also brings in nighttime, sonar, nocturnal, but the Bat also has to do with, I think the Bat had to do with transformation as well. But there is this idea of something blooming in the night, and then it did say when the next day dawns, you're no longer going to live in the past. So it's something that's being completed more than a transformation like the butterfly would be, let's say. And there's other stuff involved with bat too. It depends on what kind of bat, whether it's a flying fox or a fruit bat or a vampire bat. You know, is it eating the bugs? Is it eating the fruits? Is it sucking on cows? Who knows? Maybe it's just having a little upside-down disco party. There's different things that could come in with bat information. The bat is also, in the matching tarot deck, the bat is the hangman. So we have Firefly. This is like a quick burst of inspiration. I was just, when I was flipping through the cards, putting them in order, I was like, is a lightning bug the exact same thing as a firefly, or are they different? I don't know. But if it said lightning bug, that would be a little bit more like rote. It would be a little bit more rote, like every time I see this card I know it's quick inspiration, right? A lightning flash. But the firefly is sort of like, it's more of like a nightlight, more of a flickering, more of a hey listen kind of energy. And it's sort of like it has an expiration date, kind of. Just a little guy. So we have bees. There's heart-centered stuff going on here. So the bee, busy bee, just like the beaver. They were saying, she was saying in the book about, and I'm sort of interpreting this in this way, like she's saying that like whatever bees do, they bring in a certain amount of creativity to their task. But I think it's because bees dance. Like their GPS instructions are via interpretive dance. So it's like I'm gonna like do my work. I'm gonna focus on it. I'm task oriented, but it's not gonna be boring. It's gonna be fancy until I'm exhausted, and then I just want to stab everybody in the face. That kind of energy. So hummingbird. I feel like hummingbird is at least a little bit similar to the bee in the descriptions in the book, because it's like the hummingbird also goes out for its own version of nectar, or maybe the bees are sucking up nectar too, whatever. because hummingbirds are good, or you help pollinate too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But they, you know, they sort of map out where the good stuff is, and then they keep going back. You know, it's like I know what I need and I know where to get it. Kind of an intuitive sense. In, I think it's the Mystical Shaman Oracle, the hummingbird is about going on a journey. So whenever I see this hummingbird, it always makes me think of the other one. They do have feet, and if you give them a feeder with little footrests on it, they will stop. But there's other stuff with the hummingbird too. They're not all ruby-throated, but they're tiny. Their wings flap so fast you can't see them. You know, hollow bones, little birdies, little tongue and a proboscis and all that kind of stuff. So, hummingbird. It's like what's, this is a little bit more hey listen than even the firefly though. It's like there's a buzzing inside me. Like what is it? Like where is it telling me to go? That kind of stuff. So vulture, misunderstood. Right? Clean up on aisle 5. Or like, ew, that guy, get away. And it's like, well, you know, who's going to eat the dead meat around here? Who's going to clean up your mess? You know, just because you think it's untoward doesn't mean there's no purpose. So that's what's going on with the vulture. And then we have the crow. I always get confused when I get the crow in this deck. In the tarot deck, it might be a raven, because ravens have like a square, their back of their head is more square, but the crow, in the tarot, in the Wild Unknown Tarot, is on the Hierophant card. And a lot of the time I sort of compare these animals to the Mystical Shaman Oracle and vice versa when there's animals on the deck. And there is a crow in that one, and I think it has to do with, I don't remember what the crow has to do in the other deck either. I have a mental block. But the book was talking about clairvoyance, like able to see the past, present, and future at the same time, just like intense psychic ability, and like are you like sort of a be careful what you open, Pandora's box kind of thing, right? So essentially this crow is holding a crystal ball. It's like intense perception. So we have owl, pretty much what you would expect an owl to be, bringing information, although in this deck it's suggested that this owl is lucky and something's about to happen, something's coming, which could also be a message in and of itself, right? Like an announcement maybe. So dragonfly, this is sort of like the Lord of Illusion, shimmering, shifting, things that are fading in and out. This dragonfly also reminds me of the Three of Wands in the matching tarot, because there's this similar big honking triangle with like a color mist in the middle, but the mist in the other one is multicolored and this one's just blue. But this has to do with perception and illusion. So the nightingale, this is like Neptune over here, or Uranus depending. This is about like speaking your heart, basically. And there, I mean, there can be other things too. It's just the song, like what are you hearing? Like a little birdie told me, that kind of thing. The number 5, 6, is that 11? It is 11. The number 11, little brown bird making pretty music, and then like letting your own song come out, right? Speaking what's in your heart, that kind of stuff. All right, so peacock, it's pretty, but it's like it didn't just arrive like that. like it went through some stuff to get to that state of decor. It's talking about digestion in this too. The peacock can digest anything, or it's like, I can't swallow this. So I'm not sure what's going on, but maybe peacocks can eat all kinds of stuff. Maybe they're like goats, which is probably why they're like creeping around cities and stuff. They're like, it's like a glorified pigeon maybe. But anyway, it's like peacock has been through some stuff. They didn't just, you know, arrive in a limo because they're pretty. It's like they worked, you know, they worked in the mines and like carved that car out of steel or something. So the hawk. So this one, the hawk, and there's these distinct chakra colors here. It's like you can see the bigger picture and all the details at the same time, right? Like its scope of vision about stuff. And then the eagle, I usually confuse the eagle with the hawk in terms of what it means, but this eagle is about, it's sort of like a pre-phoenix. Like it's flying into the sun, or it's about to like try to grab onto the sun. It's like truth seeking, like truth and freedom and like harnessing harnessing the energy to burn through things to their core, that kind of thing. But I also associate this with the eagle in the other spirit deck that I have, which is more like the hawk card in this deck, but also like a very similar energy to this. Because I think the eagle in the other deck is a 16, which is a certain connotation. But here this eagle's only presenting the number 5, but it could be the Hierophant. Like it really wants to get into those like higher level spiritual truths. Okay. So we're gonna look at the final frontier, the big metal donut, the spiritual cards, which have to do with the chakras. Alright, so these spirit cards all have this silver donut on them. It's the same metallic that's on the box. So when they're in order, it's fairly easy to remember. And this Phoenix card is the root chakra. And notice how I said that the eagle is like right before the Phoenix, right? This is transformation. It's you know, rising up out of the ashes, which is like the ground. It's burning through the karma, right? I don't have to do that anymore. So any other root related stuff, at least according to this card. So if you're getting the Phoenix card on its own, it could very well end up being it could be the core, right? The fire. But here it's coming in with the root energy too. So the sea serpent, even though this card is entirely blue and there's no orange to be found, in this deck this is related to the sacral chakra, because the sacral bowl holds the creative waters, right? Like a birthing pool. And it has to do with and this card was really like the basis for my entire understanding of what the sacral chakra is doing. It's the birthplace of creativity. But in terms of like the birthplace of the human body as well, it's like in my own sacral chakra, like in my pelvic girdle, whether you have reproductively a womb or not, it's, do I feel safe? Do I feel protected? Do I feel like my ideas are going to have protection enough so that when I bring them out, they're not going to be like murdered. You know, like, or my ideas aren't going to die on the vine if when my creation is still in its infancy, there's nurturing for it. So that's what that's about. And it can also be like physically nurturing too. So dragon, this is a multicolored chakra type energy, but this is the eye from the cover. This is the dragon eye. This is the solar chakra in this deck. The gut, the core. It makes sense to have the dragon there too, right? Fire-breathing dragon, the fire center, the identity, right? It's like sort of like, who am I kind of a situation. Like finding someone's strength or your strength. Sorry about the fireworks, I have no control over it. So the golden egg here, this is sitting in the heart chakra. And this is, well, actually these both do, but the golden egg is like the one in Harry Potter where it's like it has to be underwater in the emotions in order for the sound that it makes to be understood. There's a tetrahedral grid pattern on here, universal energy, and it's also nested. So this is the heart center. It's like and they called it, referred to it in the book as the unstruck sound. It's like what's in my heart that needs to be released, basically. So in this deck, this black egg is sitting in the throat chakra, and this is about truth. And it has this pattern from the back of the cards. And then this black with white is how it looks in the tarot deck on the back of the cards. So this black egg with this purpley burgundy kind of energy is sitting in the throat chakra, and again, it's about truth in this deck. It can also be anything else that related to eggs and darkness and all that. You know, it doesn't have to always be that meaning, but in terms of how the deck was produced. So the unicorn, very obviously the third eye with that horn coming up, possibly the moon here, but it could be any planet. I mean, it's fairly standard, right? Cracking into that wisdom, downloads, you're opening up the third eye, all that stuff. And then the cosmic egg is sitting on the crown. And I usually struggle with this card more than the other ones. Oh, that's right. Harmony and the infinite within the finite. Right, so it's talking about universal patterns, harmony, fractals. You know, it's like connecting to that within the egg and what's outside of the egg at the same time, right? And sort of like also tapping into the Kundalini energy here. But this is very much like tapping into the fractal nature of the universe, right? It's like the shell of the egg is everything in the human-sized realm of stuff. Everything outside of the egg is cosmic, everything inside of the egg is microscopic. But it's all resonating at these frequencies where you look at, you know, diatoms and they look like platonic solids, and then you look at galaxies and they look like platonic solids. It's that same thing. So this is essentially the pattern recognition at the crown chakra, the connection to the cosmos and to the minute as well. But it's not just that. The cosmic egg has other stuff going on for it too. So any other interpretation also, but in general, what the intent was. So I find these cards to be very potent. I love the artwork. I love the Wild Unknown Tarot, and I like these Wild Unknown Animal Spirits as well. I do find this deck very challenging to use, and I've find myself more often than not dipping back into the book because I often feel confused or lost when I'm trying to read these. So I would say if you want to know this deck, you should use it a lot until you feel like you've got a handle on it. But it's worth doing that for because it's very potent, and I recommend it, even though I myself, for some reason, I just struggle with it. I actually think that I'm having an easier time with the round archetypes deck than I did with this deck. So this is not that hard to shuffle. These are broken in because I've been using them for a couple of years. But they're not that hard to shuffle. If your hands are big enough, you can span them like that. They have a pretty good flow. Because even though the cards are fairly tall, it's still easy to shuffle because they're narrow. They're not real thick. The paper stock is not real flimsy, but it has a heft to it, sort of a medium weight. They've got kind of like a, I don't know if it's luster or matte or whatever, but there's not a lot of like grainy texture to the card. They're fairly smooth, but there's a crispness. And then they're also good for doing this. The shuffly. Like that. So you can do that. And then, like, when I feel like mine get bent too far in one direction, I just turn them around and shuffle them the other way. So, they're fairly easy to shuffle. It's a very potent deck. There's a lot of information in there, whether you're using the book or just, freestyling, and pretty pictures. I like them. I like them a lot. And then if you do like me, you can have a fancy iridescent wall hanging and a fancy iridescent box. And then there's like it's got the little ribbon pull to get the cards up. So that's what's into the Wild Unknown Animal Spirits. I already did the tarot deck, I think, in this series, and I'm gonna do the archetypes, probably one of the last decks that I review that I already own, because it's one of the newer ones, and for these reviews I prefer to review decks that I'm at least partly familiar with, that I've used several times. And I don't think I've used the archetypes enough to warrant reviewing the deck yet. I don't know why I'm putting this away like this, because I'm just going to separate everything out again, because I don't store them like that. But I highly recommend this. I recommend the tarot, I recommend this, and I recommend the archetypes. The archetypes aren't quite matchy-matchy because they're more collage. There's some drawings that are similar to this, and then there's like little photos kind of snapped in there, but essentially it does match this and the tarot deck. If you're interested in these, if you like Kim Krans as much as I do, like, go get it, because they're all awesome. I don't think I've fully used them all together yet in one reading. But I have intentions to do so. And when I do, it's going to be epic. Alright, so if you want to have me read tarot for you, I will do that, aside from all the free stuff that I put up. The readings, is that not? I know that's not fully in focus, but it's the best I can do. I'm going to have this sign up after the video anyway. The readings that I offer and the prices for those readings are going to be in the description box underneath here. That's PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo. My email for that, thecatcamebackatcamp, all one word, @gmail.com. All of this is through the Linktree, linktr.ee/CATtheMinion, so that includes those payment platform links, the email, social media, places to buy art, and merchant prints. So I have coloring books, dark poetry, like t-shirts, blankets and towels and little bags, phone cases and stuff, masks, pillows and shit over here on Cafe Press. I've got art prints on DeviantArt. There's both of these have mugs. There's other drinkware here. There's mugs, coasters, greeting cards, prints, canvases, and stuff like that. Postcards, calendars. One calendar on DeviantArt under my cat logo has like 14 different art images on it. And then Etsy's actual art items, my chapbook packs, which is like a little booklet of the writing, and then it'll have like 5-ish little pieces of art in there, which would be like throwing down a few cards. So it's like a synchronicity stimulus, I like to call it. So those are on Etsy, and I've got drawings and paintings and etchings and a couple of stuffed animals and some other stuff over there. So 3star17 coupon code, 17% off a purchase of 3 or more items on Etsy. Those chapbook packs cost about as much as a greeting card, and then I have other stuff over there that is up to like $150, I think, with stuff in between prices, like $15-20 for some of my older work, like college stuff. I think that's it. Readings below. I've got some different stuff going on my playlist. I've got my Adventures with Plastic Crack. I've got these deck reviews. I've got different types of tarot readings. So those are all there. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Check out my playlists tab, my discussion tab, and stay groovy, and we'll see you later. Bye.